Hello everyone, and on today's episode of Tech Lab, we're going to be talking about the Everdrive 64 for the Nintendo 64. Let's get started! Greetings, and welcome to a new episode of Tech Lab, the show where we talk about anything and everything tech-centric. Today's episode, I want to go over the Everdrive 64. What is it? Well, if you watched my Everdrive GBA X5 video last season, this is pretty much the same thing, except for this particular Nintendo console right here. So, why exactly are we looking into this? Because it's a bit different than its handheld brethren. And also because I wanted an excuse to actually show this thing off. This is the Eon 64. It is a HDMI adapter for this console, and also, like I said, it was just interesting. Now, of course, why would you want a flash card like this? Well, you could be in that situation where you're kind of in a weird spot financially, and you can't afford to get crazy with these N64 cartridges. That being said, you could really give two flights less about, accuracy and decide, you know what, I think I'll just find the entire Nintendo 64 US ROM library and drop it on here. Yes, I'm not kidding. This is an 8GB SD card, and you can literally just run it like that. Now, is it worth it? Let's find out. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Alright folks, so now that we got the Everdrive actually powered on, it's pretty blatantly obvious that the menus are relatively the same across the board. However, this one has a nice background image to it, which I kind of like. It looks neat. Of course, once again, I decided to alphabetize all my ROMs because I'll be damned if I'm going to try and do this the hard way. And because of this, let's just say everything looks nicer now. Now, as far as the menu goes for game selection, you can start the game, you can activate cheats, good luck with that, I couldn't really get those to work properly. You can check the ROM info, view the hex, or delete the game. Why you'd want to do that, I have no idea. Now, as far as actually playing the stuff is concerned, this is about what you would expect for an old game console like this. Now, that being said, the Eon 64 does have the option to smooth out the, stuff out, which may clean it up a little bit. But, overall, I'd say it looks fine for the most part. That being said, I really haven't used this all that much, and I've never really been much of a fan for the Nintendo 64, so I really couldn't tell you. But let's just say that it gets the job done, and I'm kind of happy about that. Now, as far as some of the other stuff is concerned, I didn't really run into too many issues with game load time on this. As you may have seen earlier, this thing can load rather instantly. Though, all things considered, there are newer versions of the Everdrive 64 out at this point that do clean some things up, but that being said, I leave it entirely on you to figure out what you're going to do with the Everdrive should you decide to actually get the thing. So, when it comes down to it, the Everdrive 64 basically does what it's supposed to. I mean, for God's sakes, it's a flash card. But, admittedly, I do like this because it'll save a lot of money later and a lot of headaches down the road. So, with that, I will leave a link to this in the description below, but for the sake of my own safety, I can't risk leaving links to the ROMs that I used for this video. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close. If you like what you saw, great. If you didn't, that's not so great, but thanks for watching anyways, and we'll see you all next week when we look at a rather unknown Linux distribution. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.